Hello everyone, and welcome to the Smaller Fish Hurling Show. We're live from Liberty Hall. Very good. What did I go on, Wexford? Go on, Tib. Anyone here from Limerick? Very good. Kilkenny? How many? Hands up from Kilkenny. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 more than last year's live show in the Sugar Tub. So we're happy enough about that. We're breaking into Kilkenny. The show tonight is thanks to our sponsor Locker. It's Ireland's fastest growing sports app. Locker brings fans news, highlights, punditry and stats from over 2,000 publishers from around the world, all in one place. It doesn't matter what sport you like, Locker will personalise your experience, so you won't miss out on a thing. So it's a fantastic idea and great to have them on board. So this Sunday we're going to see 2 of the greatest goalkeepers that ever played the game. Owen Murphy, arguably the best shot stopper in the game, is good at stopping things like this. No volume on that, guys, but anyways. Then we have Nicky Quaid, who's also brilliant at stopping things. He's absolutely brilliant at stopping the game when the opposition have a bit of momentum. What is wrong with his eye? John Kiley doesn't have a clue. We're going to ask Joe Quaid in part 3. He's his second cousin. What the hell is wrong with Nicky Quaid's eye? It's chronic, whatever it is. And it only happens every now and then whenever the opposition are going well. Like I said, we have a brilliant show lined up. We have one man that wanted to be here that can't be here. Davy Fitzgerald loves the show. Really likes me too. So he promised that he'd take a Skype call. So we're going to take a chance here and give him a ring. Itzy and Brian, can we give Davy a ring? Davy, can you move down the phone a little bit?
Yeah, is that better right here?
Yeah, that's all good. That's all good. Before we get into the All-Ireland, Davy, how do you think Waterford went this year?
Look, only I'm not going to say too much, you know. Look, I thought we had a good year this year, you know. I thought we were on rail, especially where I got this team at, you know. I picked them up, you know. I went down there this year and they were overweight, they were underfed, they were just... But you know what? They were good lads, you know, and I knew they were good lads, you know, and I knew I'd get a lot out of them, you know. And I feel I did get a lot out of them, you know, and I deserve huge credit, like, because them lads were shy, you know. They still are, but, you know, I do get it out of them, you know, and I picked that team up, you know, in a pretty bad place.
Davy, they weren't in a bad place. They were the second best team in the country last year.
What would you know about hurling, Wooly? You tell me, what's your background in hurling, huh? Wooly, tell you what you are. You're nothing but a you fucking stupid leash. Huh? You owe me money as well for naming the podcast after me, huh?
Davy, we're going to have to leave that with the lawyers. Come here, are you enjoying your time down in Waterford?
Oh, and I should have been the Kilkenny manager anyway, you know. I should have never been near Waterford, you know. But the boys at Kilkenny came down to me after Cody left and they says, will you take the job, Davy? And I said I would. So I said to your man, I said, right, put it there. And then he said to me, he says, okay, you can have the job, you know, but on one condition, you know. And I said, what's that? He says, we don't want any of your antics, Davy. I said, so, my antics? What do you mean my antics? And he said, well, you can be a bit immature, you know. I says, immature? I says, okay. I said, I tell you what you do now. I says, get your job, stick it up your Kilkenny hole, and get the fuck out of my treehouse, Mr. Chairman.
Davy, who's going to win the All-Ireland?
Well, I don't care who wins. It should have been us in the final anyway, you know. I don't know if you've seen the game against Limerick this year. We should have won, huh? Gerard Hegarty, big fella, huh? He thought he'd rough a few of our players up, them Limerick boys. Well, I tell you want to see, I didn't let him away with it. When he came out of the stadium, I ran after him, you know. He said he pissed off Dave. He shouted at me. Well, I ran after him, right, Wooly? And I just ran up and I hit him the best box. Bang! Straight into the ankle. Don't mess with Davy, right?
All right, Davy, we're going to have to let you go. Give a round of applause to Davy Fitzgerald.
Good luck.
Get the fuck out of my treehouse, I thought was the best line he had in that. All right, it's time for our first panel. Give it up for Smaller Fish's own Ollie Baker, Bubbles O'Dwyer and Aidan Hart. In there, lads, grab a mic. There's one extra mic there, lads. Just leave it there. We have to start, Ollie. You were the subject of some salacious WhatsApp stories and jokes over the last few weeks. I don't know if you're aware of that. I think it's about time you had the right to reply to this. So we're going to refresh our memories if any of you haven't seen the story going around about Ollie.
Tell the story of Ollie Baker and the fucking the bail.
Oh yeah. Ollie Baker was the guard like in Mullia, like he was trying to catch this old bike like driving and fucking
In Mullia?
yeah. And do you know where the spinning wheel is? And your man was in there anyways drinking all day, and he came out anyways and he drives the tractor with the bail in the back, and he took off down the road and Baker started following him. And he pulled left when it was going down the Bory, and fucking next thing Baker followed him down the Bory. Baker started put on the lights anyway, started flashing the lights. The man looked behind. He stopped the tractor, dropped the bail, and off he went.
Aidan Hart sent me that, Ollie. Can you confirm or deny that the bail was dropped down to Boreen and you were stuck behind the bail as the farmer headed off home?
It was a killer. I had to go out and get the bail and put it into the boot of the car. No, I've no memory of that incident. Although I've fond memories of the spinning wheel in Mullia. I think you would as well, Aidan. It is some giant out there. But that WhatsApp was going around. I must have got it 100 times. From people, and my kids were even getting it, and if Jesus was the same, what did it happen? Did it happen? And everyone coming at it. So I was never as glad that Marty left back their car to Reno. Did it change the focus and took it off me for a bit.
You don't recognise the man telling the story, Baker, no?
I have carrying out inquiries.
Do you know him, Aidan?
I'd say it's Davy Glennon, all right?
Davy Glennon,
Davy
is it?
Glennon, yeah. No better
very
man. He wouldn't be telling lies now either.
That looked like the Saturday morning of a stag or something, where they're all in some hostel. We realised this thing kind of going on. We were talking about it on Wednesday on the show, Bubbles, is that neither team are staying up on Sunday night, and I've never been in an All Ireland. You boys have been in loads. I can only is this a bit of a break? It's a big break from tradition. Tell us about what the actual, what it's like staying up in Dublin, and is getting the train home at 8 o'clock for Limerick. Does that change things dramatically from the experience?
I suppose it does, but the price of hotels now, I thought you'd be putting us up tonight. We have to drive up and drive home as well. So,
see, that's why I have the free bar, because you're driving, right?
But it is a big break from tradition. I suppose the one that stands out is going to the Children's Hospital on the Monday morning. Lads will be full going there, full of beer going there, but it's still nice to do. But look, with the price of everything, I suppose Kilkenny will only be home in an hour and 10 minutes. Limerick have a bit more to go, but look, I'd say it won't really matter. Whoever's going home with the cup won't mind where they're going.
Yeah, they won't mind. But 8 o'clock, will they get a chance to get something to eat around there? What will they do? At the players' bar maybe or something?
Yeah, I'd say some of them lads now mightn't eat till Thursday, will they, to be honest? Yeah, it's a big miss. Look, I'll be honest, I think we only had the one time as winners, obviously, in the City West. I think Paul Fla's down there in the audience tonight. He didn't even use his room, but yeah, it's a big break from tradition. It's a lovely time to spend with your parents because, in your family, when you go back to Limerick now or Kilkenny or wherever it might be the next night, it's very hard to spend a lot of time with them because the crowd comes in and kind of takes over and takes on a world of its own from there. But I suppose the winning banquet is always the good one to be at. Yeah. Unfortunately, I was at a good few losing ones, and I'd say the soup wasn't out and I was in coppers, so you kind of get out of there as quick as you can. So there's two sides to it, but definitely, it's a break from tradition. I think big thing there, as Bubble said, going to the Children's Hospital on the Monday is a lovely thing, but the Sunday evening as well with family and close friends is very nice before going
Now,
back.
hang on a second. Two of you tell the truth. Did you go to the Children's Hospital or were you dying? Because I was in both your hotels after your All-Ireland wins. I didn't see you, lads.
In 19, I was home at 7:30. I was out the door again at 9 o'clock to go to the hospital.
Really?
Yeah.
Very good. What about you, Ed?
I was the other way in 17. I was in bed by 1 o'clock. I was wrecked, to be honest, but yeah, I was up to go, right? Yeah. Myself and Johnny Cohn and Joe Kenny.
Who picks who goes? Just whoever's up?
Whoever's up and whoever's able to go, I suppose. There was a lot of lads up, but whether you'd bring them or not is another thing. So I suppose whoever's the freshest, really.
We'd always put our hand up to go because you knew if you went to the Children's Hospital, you'd go straight to the Palace Bar on the way back. So you'd know straight away, right, if you're going to the hospital, I'm going because we're not coming back to the hotel, we're going to the Palace Bar.
Yeah. Wait, was that tradition going when you were winning All-Ireland, Sally?
No, I don't know where that came out of. There was a guy who used to own a pub down in Milltown. He was working in a bar, the Clarendon Bar, up in just there off St. Stephen's Green. So that's where we headed to. That was our local haunt when we were staying up from Dublin for the night. So we all headed there in the mornings, and we were very charitable in the pub as well, I must say.
And ye had the tradition in the late 90s where on the Monday you'd all go to the Burlington, the winning team and the losing team, and all have dinner together.
Yeah, it was actually kind of, I suppose, growing up, you kind of heard of that tradition as it was, and you either got a tie or there was a kind of a replica of the McCarthy Cup given to each team. So it was brilliant. In '97, the tip lads came over to the Burlington, and we were flying home. We were flying from Dublin Airport down to Shannon Airport on that evening, and I was drinking with Michael Ryan and somebody else from the tip team, and the four of us, myself and Niall Gilligan, and we had to get a taxi. The four of us got a taxi out to the Dublin Airport. The lads were coming out with us, and I think they realised when they were at the airport that they weren't actually getting on a flight, so they had to head back into town. But it was, there was an awful lot more socialising done teams. I don't know what it's like now. A lot of guys play together in college and things that didn't have their own. They kind of have their own lives independent of the teams, if you will. But no, back then there was always the day or the evening. The Offaly lads came over to our hotel in '95 after the game. I think in when Kilkenny beat us in 2001, we went and sought out their hotel as well. So there was kind of that was an element of what it was back then. But then it's gotten an awful lot more serious now.
They're on the foam rollers and everything now. I went out the 2018 when Limerick beat G, Aidan, and Kyle Hayes was coming back from the gym. The fucking gym the morning after winning the All-Ireland. Like, I couldn't believe it. He was in the pool. I was just thinking, Ollie, that bit of roast beef must have tasted very nice looking down at the tip lads after winning the All-Ireland and beating them.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice. There was good food out there. Yeah, 4-star hotel and all. We stayed there as well, which was so we didn't have to travel over to the Renton. So it was But when you come up for the weekend and just what the lads were saying as well, coming up and staying at the weekend of an All-Ireland final is just something special. We even if you weren't playing it, I've been in Dublin every weekend. An All-Ireland final has been played maybe since the mid-90s, in some way, shape or form. You're always up here. It's a really special weekend, be it the hurling final or the football final. You come up and you're meeting GA people, and it's a really something special. So when you can actually get out and let the hair down after the match and kind of, be it for the good or the bad, or hearing the bad stories or not feeling so good about the result or the winning, it's like being out and about, and it's like going to Coppers or going to wherever you be going. Like they're great weekends, they're great nights, and like that's what you train for. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
We should have joined the guards, Bubbles.
We all,
must be getting paid an awful lot.
We show you where to go. We keep you out of the spinning wheel. Though.
Two of you be sweet with the guards now. All right. Come here, just to the two of you then. I'm thinking of the dressing room now, and you're all, not long after the game, all the players have Instagram pictures up, and and the Band of Brothers hashtag and all the kind of stuff that you do nowadays. Who's taking these pictures? Is some poor old kit man over in the corner with all the phones lined up taking that same picture?
I don't really know. I don't think any went out after the 2019 All-Ireland. I think Liam put a ban on phones inside in the dressing room after. I think there was only one person. I think it actually could have been the kit man, Brian Staken, that took a few videos, and it was just kept for the group. So I don't actually think anything went out. But look, as you said, it's all over social media, but I remember going in, just sat in beside Shamey, and the two of us just sat down for a chat. That was it. And then 20 minutes later, you're in the players' lounge then with the Kilkenny boys, just having a drink and having a chat, like, you know.
And he banned the phones in the dressing room even after he won?
Yeah.
Why? So you could enjoy it together?
Just enjoy it, like few family members and stuff came in, and, you know, a few songs and stuff like that, but no phones to take videos, only one person, yeah.
Right. I'd say Dottie Burke was mad for the Instagram photos, Aidan, after...
Yeah, I'd say Dahi's the only man now. You might get a text from every now and again. You look at his WhatsApp and last seen maybe 3 days ago. You know, he's not a big man for it, but we were mostly the same now in 17 in particular. No phones, but I remember the week after we were back in our own place in Gart, and sure, stupidly, like, the night goes on and there's no closing when the parents own the place, you know, so drinking well into the morning, I stupidly put 1 or 2 videos up on social media, but if I did, I had about 55 missed calls from Micheál Donoghue anyway the following morning. That was the end of that. I learned my lesson.
Come here, Bubbles. You were involved in one of the biggest, was it a controversy or talking points? Probably in All-Ireland history. We have footage of that.
Clip isn't working, is it? I think it was over, was it?
I said no data available before it disappeared off the screen. I fixed it for you. Isn't that amazing? Like, I mean, just an incredible thing that a computer took an All-Ireland off of you.
Jeez, I think it was Barry Kenny. His umpire was a bit old there. He couldn't see up high enough to see where the ball was. But yeah, but look, you can see the way Hawkeye is the last couple of years, like the amount of mistakes after making. So I'm still standing by that the ball was over the bar. I know the Kilkenny lads here will disagree, even though there's only 4 of them here. So
Just like the Leinster final.
So, but yeah, look, it was a big talking point. But we drew the game, and then we went out. Then the lads below turned it on. Then the 2 weeks later and beat us. Like.
Yeah. There's been loads of things down, like, I mean, the Hawkeye's getting a bit of a bad rap at the moment, Ollie, because the data not available is popping up every now and then, and people aren't sure whether to even trust it. I don't know how umpires in hurling do it. Like, they're looking up. It's nearly impossible to see.
Yeah, and I don't know. Bringing in this yellow sliotar hasn't helped either, which I think is nearly offensive again to the traditions of the game. But just the speed that the ball is moving at now, and everything. I think that Hawkeye needs to be explained an awful lot more as to how it works. I think that no data available is that it's not captured within the whatever spread that the whatever technology they're using can catch the sliotar coming through. So when they send it back for analysis, they can't spot it. So it comes back as no data available. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. It's some similar system. I'd be familiar with that system, but they need to explain that to people. But I think Aidan or the Bubbles had it right. Their umpires need to be a little bit what was that? Maybe 10 months a year training, all down for one decision, for a lad behind the goal, like, you know, who's really maybe not up to it. So players are putting in so much now that I think you need professional, or as close to professional, but say up to the standard of a referee umpiring for our Ireland finals. I just think it's a no-brainer, and then that just takes out technology out of the game, and at least you know there's some level of competence waving the white or the green flag.
Yeah. I want to talk about the match a little bit, lads, and start off with the two managers, John Kiley and Derek Ling. Aidan, they're definitely two. You can't imagine Derek Ling kind of even getting tick. They're kind of the new breed of manager who they're not the Loughnans, or, you know, even I'd say Liam Sheedy be well able to get going in the dressing room. It's all like Kylie's all process driven, and it seems like a complete departure to what, you know, we're used to.
Yeah, and I'm sure Owen and Richie will tell you a lot more now about what Brian was like in the dressing room, but I think if Derek went in there now trying to be thick, the bar was set fair high, so you know, trying to keep up with that now would be difficult. But yeah, you see them there, I suppose, during the game, Derek and Peter Barry and Michael Rice and in particular, and Peter Donovan, you know, they seem to be very calm, collected, and, you know, kind of not panicking, I suppose, during the game. So Look, I suppose he had a lot of learnings from Brian, hadn't he? Been in that setup, but I think it's an incredible achievement for them to be in All Ireland in their first year. You know,
Yeah.
Obviously he'd know an awful lot about the players and has been there with the under-21s and stuff like that. But it's an incredible achievement, and I suppose John, he's the man you see at the forefront, isn't he? And then you see Paul Kinnerk in the background with his notebook, and Alan Cunningham and Angus O'Brien in the stands behind him. So I suppose it's a completely different, contrasting styles and managers. So it's interesting, yeah, it's interesting.
What did you react to, Bubbles? Did you react to a lad shouting and roaring, or did you react to a lad kind of giving you more, I don't know, kind of process-driven advice?
Well, that's what it is now. It's all process. But I presume what you see, like John Kiley and Derek Ling talking to the media, is completely different from what they are to the players. Like I'd say John Kiley could get tick now, and I would like to see him tick. But like as you said, Liam, like if Liam raised his voice, like you'd know that he's angry, and not a man that you want to be standing in front when he's angry, because he is fond of throwing a few slaps.
Sheedy is he?
Oh yeah, like if you're not going well, you could end up getting a box into the stomach. You could be down for a couple of minutes, going out for the second half or that. But it all depends, and like all managers are different. Like, and they know kind of what player they have. Like, I know there was a clip there a couple of years ago of myself and Shamey. He came over to me during the water break, gave me a tap on the shoulder, and as I said, he hit Shamey a slap on the arm and said, "Come on to fuck," like, you know. So everyone's different, but it all depends on what way players react. And
Yeah.
not too many managers came shouting at me, because I could end up telling them to fuck off.
But I was always wondering about that clip. So he got all this credit for tapping you in the back, but you were playing well. And then he slapped Shamey, but Shamey wasn't playing well. So is that not just a normal thing to do? Tap you, we were doing well, Bubbles. Will you get into it? So it's not like the both of you were going the same and he treated you different. Do you get me? I think he got too much credit.
He was probably just looking for a bit more out of Shamey, like.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like I was playing okay, but I still wasn't playing great. But you know, Shamey sometimes might need that, like a kick up the arse, like.
Right.
And, you know, Liam knew that, and look, I can't remember whether Shamey started playing well or whatnot. I can't even remember who it was against, Clare maybe, but yeah, look, that's just the way Liam was. He would have been the same thing maybe with a Paddy Maher. Like he'd give him a few dunce, and maybe to Noel then as well, like, you know, just a little bit of a G up.
Yeah. Well, if Sheedy liked a few punches in the stomach, what did Loughnane like, Ollie? I would say this was all out assault.
Yeah, but I'd say no more than Anton, and it's the same in every, is that we say standards are set, and you either live up to those standards or you don't. And if you're not living up to them, then you're going to have to be reminded of them, and certain managers have their own way of reminding you. And Loughnane was abusive.
Would he have tried it on you though?
And I definitely didn't live up to the standards. So I was, we were getting ready. I think I mentioned it last year. We were getting ready for the '97 All Ireland, and we played a training match inside in the Gaelic grounds in Limerick, and he spent a full training session on top of me and just a litany of abuse, like that I'd break or that I was going to react in some way, but there was no reacting, because all I was thinking of was playing Tip in the All Ireland final, and sure, he could be roaring and shouting all he wanted. All I was doing was getting ready for the match. I didn't hear him or take much notice of what he was saying. And there's only the lads were saying inside the dressing room after, said, "Geez, we thought you'd go for him inside." And I was saying, "No, why? What was he at?" Because and they were all at it, but I was only zoned in on what we had to do to beat Tip a week later. But he thought this was a way of, improving morale around the team or whatever. But it's really nonsensical, all that roaring and shouting. If you find yourself roaring and shouting, you're really, I don't know. It doesn't add anything. It never inspired me ever. And I don't know that it ever inspire anyone to get a bollock in public in front of people. Sure, it's completely alien to what sports science would tell you need to do.
Yeah, I think roaring and shouting at people before an All-Ireland final makes no sense, as if you're not going to be up for that. What about the match, lads? Who are we calling in this? Declan Hannon's a big one. He's not even in 26, Aidan. I think that was fairly obvious that, you know, they wouldn't have announced 3 or 4 weeks ago that he's out for the semi-final if it was just a knock on the knee. Whatever it is, and there's lots of rumours going around what it is, he's not in there. Now you have a backline in Limerick of Dan Morrissey, who's playing out of position even though he's a very good fullback. You have Casey playing cornerback and he's a fullback. You have Barry Nash playing cornerback and he used to be a forward. And you have William O'Donoghue playing centre-back and he's a midfielder. Like, this has to be encouraging for Kilkenny.
Yeah, big time. And look at, I suppose, if you look at it from a Limerick point of view, it'll be a fair feat now if they pulled it off on Sunday, missing Sean and Declan Hannon. You know, you think about teams down through the years who were missing flagship players for All Ireland finals, and they couldn't pull it out of the bag. You know, it's hard to do. I think if Limerick give Kilkenny the head start that they gave Clare in the Munster final, they should have been 6 behind at half time, that they gave Galway in the first 25 minutes, you know. Nicky Quaid will have to do a tour of Dublin Zoo or something like that before they'll pull it back. So that'll be a worry for them, you know, that they'll really have to start well into this game. And then contrasting side with Kilkenny, I know a lot of people are saying they're maybe better this year, but I don't know, I still have my question marks on that. You know, they pipped Galway, of course, at the death in the Leinster final. They bet Clare by 12 last year, and it was only 3 this year. So I don't know, I'd still have question marks over some of them, particularly in the back line. You know, Mikey Carey now is out for the year, as we know, and Conor Brown is travelling. Liam Blanchfield
Looks like
might not play.
Everyone's saying he's out.
Yeah, he seems to be out. So, you know, you just wonder, will they keep the score down enough? I think Limerick will score a lot on the day, and probably still a lot of questions to answer for Kilkenny, I would say.
Well, what do you think? I think Blanchfield is a huge loss for Kilkenny because they don't have Mikey Carey, like you said. You know, Corcoran could come in. Would he have the legs for Morrissey or Gerard Hegarty? You don't want to put Paddy Deegan on Gerard Hegarty after the massacre of last year.
No, Blanchfield is going to be a loss if he is out, because Kilkenny are going to set up with matchups, like, whereas on the opposite side, Limerick are just going to play whoever comes into that space or that area. So, like, Darragh Corcoran, he's big and he's physical, like, but I don't think he'll have the legs for Hegarty. Like Hegarty will run all day. I remember a clip in the Munster final. He was after putting the ball over the bar near the 21, and he sprinted 70 yards back to his own 45 to get on the next puck out. Like, so, it's going to be interesting. And, you know, maybe I know Mikey Butler isn't as tall, or he's not big, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him maybe go out on a Gerard Hegarty or Tom Morrissey, because I think Peter Casey can be looked after out in the middle. Like, he doesn't need as much taken care of as other players. So I wouldn't be surprised maybe even to see Mikey Butler pick up Cian Lynch.
Yeah, you know, I'd be gas looking at Mikey Butler marking Gerard Hegarty though, wouldn't it?
I think Mikey Butler's physical enough for it. He's a beast. Like, I know he's not tall, but he's
strong,
a beast.
hardy, yeah.
He is, yeah. But Cian Lynch might be the perfect matchup for him. And then maybe Richie Reid go with Gerard Hegarty. But I don't. And then the opposite side, then, like, Limerick are just going to set up in their space. So I'd nearly see, could you put an Adrian Mullen or an Owen Cody in around Diarmaid Burns and William O'Donoghue to see, can you drag them out and then maybe get the ball into TJ. But it will be interesting. But I fancy Kilkenny for it now, to be honest.
You fancy Kilkenny?
Yeah.
Very, very interesting.
Not good coming from a tip man.
You think or you want? That's probably the thing. That's because there's 2 Kilkenny lads here looking at you. Maybe Ollie, what about William O'Donoghue? Is that a weak? Like, William O'Donoghue's a brilliant player. We know that. But in the first half against Galway, like, we know the kind of they play their positions. But Concannon and these lads had the freedom of the park. Is that somewhere Kilkenny will have to target with maybe an Adrian Mullen?
I think so. I probably think the influence that Cian Kinney had when he came on in the semi-final took John Conlon out of the game when Clare were dominant, and kind of Conlon was beginning to have an influence in the game, and they brought on Cian Kinney and played him as a withdrawn centre forward, and kind of pulled Conlon out and give Owen Cody an awful lot of space inside the forward line that they made hay with. So I definitely don't think the 2 teams that are named are going to start. There was a lot of rumours before the game that Limerick played against Galway that Cian Lynch was going to line out at centre back, and I wouldn't be surprised if that happened and they pushed Donoghue out again. As long as you don't move 5 and 7 out of the Limerick half back line, they're prepared to live with movement around 6, and then you hold your back 3, and it seems likely that Kilkenny are going to play with an inside 3 forward line, so they'll want to shut down the space there. So as long as you don't move 5 and 7 and get them dragged out, leaving space inside in the inside forward line, then I think that Limerick will be happy enough doing that. And I just think from the other side, if you're going to have Mobile out, a withdrawn centre forward for Kilkenny, then that they're going to have a withdrawn centre forward, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Cathal O'Neill starting for Limerick, because he plays that role real physical out in the middle third of the field, and he can counteract a kind of a centre forward that's going to come out for Kilkenny. So I think it's as much intrigue as to what teams could potentially start as to what's named, and like that. I think if it's a dry day and Everton is equal, then I think Limerick are going to win the game and win it convincingly. But this is an All-Ireland final. Kilkenny are in it. The weather is not going to be kind for the fast-paced game that we had last year. So that brings Kilkenny way back into the game and going to make a dogfight of it. And if it battles down to that, you'd have to my money be on Kilkenny at that rate.
Right, if it's a dogfight. We thought Kilkenny would bring it into a dogfight last year, Aidan. They didn't really. They played 3 inside. Do you remember the year they beat them in 2019? They swarmed that middle third and they were ravenous. That's not really what they did. And Derek Ling is saying they're going to attack the game. So, like, do you think they're going to drop these lines and turn it into that war, or do you think they're actually going to say, TJ can get something now in Nash, Martin Keown can run Dan Morrissey all over the place, he won't like it, and Owen Cody can give Mike Casey problems?
Yeah, look, we have to be honest about it. Of course, TJ's a generational player, like he's an absolute phenom in hurling, but my biggest fear for them would be, you know, we saw TJ working back the field against Clare and it was fantastic, but I thought Diarmuid Ryan and David McInerney in particular got on an awful lot of ball that day and just didn't put it to much use. I think Diarmuid Ryan ended up with 3 wides. My fear would be if Diarmuid Burns and Kyle Hayes get that kind of liberty from 5 or 7, you know, they could finish the game with 3 points each from play at the end of it. I wouldn't be one bit surprised. So that's, I suppose, the Robin Peter to play, Paul. It's that working back into the middle third, but at the same time, if you don't win that battle, and maybe if Limerick start to throw balls back the field a little bit, you'd be in an awful lot of trouble. So, yeah, look, as I said earlier, it's just the questions, you know, and John Donnelly has fantastic hands, but it's whether he can bring that energy to the middle third to be the same now for Tom Phelan, and Walter Welch has been coming on there as well. We don't know really, I suppose, where Mossy Keown is fully at fitness-wise, so whether they can sustain that energy for the 70 minutes will be the big issue. And Limerick really, bar the end of the game when they started to sit back last year when Kyle Hayes dropped back into a sweeper role, you know, the game became closer then, but Limerick really had them at arm's length, and I just think it will be the same this year, regardless of maybe what fight Kilkenny might bring to the game.
Finish up, lads, prediction. So, Bubbles, I know which way you're leaning. How much and how is it going to happen?
I'm going to say Kilkenny by 3, and
And the weather being a big factor in that?
I don't think so.
They beat them anyway.
Not the way Limerick play. Like Limerick are so good regardless of the weather, and Kilkenny the same. So, but I just think I think Owen Cody could get the better of Mike Casey, and I think that Billy Ryan is going to go out on Kyle Hayes because of legs, and John Donnelly maybe going to 11. And John Donnelly can score from distance, and then TJ inside. I reckon they're going to try and target the full back line with long ball. Richie Reid is good delivery, and I think Kilkenny by 3.
Kilkenny did that with Eddie Brennan on Paddy Mar one year. What year was that? Was that 14? Was that 14? 12. Yeah.
11 maybe.
So Billy Ryan out and Kyle Hayes, you think that's an interesting one. You have the pace for him. What about you, Aidan?
Yeah, look, I don't think there's going to be much in it because, like, Kilkenny will come like Kilkenny do. It'll be traditional. It'll just be their first touch will be fantastic. Their hands will be fast. Their striking will be crisp. So it will be close. You know, they probably won't have maybe as much of a system as what you might see in other teams. They'll have their particular setup before they go out, but you mightn't see it as blatant. So I think it will be close for that. But I just don't know. I think going into the last 10 minutes, I don't think they'll withstand the energy for what Limerick might still have to give. So I'll go with Limerick by about 4, I'd say. Limerick
by 4. Ollie, you've the casting vote here.
Yeah. I was just asking Joe earlier, I'd say if there's a full 70 minutes of Nicky Quaid, you'd have to give Limerick a great chance. Same. If Limerick are going to win, I think it'll be very convincing. But I don't think that'll happen. I think the desire for Kilkenny, they're 8 years without an All-Ireland. There was a guy back in the 90s I joined in the Guards with, and he played 3 or 4 years for Kilkenny and did win an All-Ireland. He was corner forward, and it was the one thing that nearly all his family hung their head, that he was a corner forward player for Kilkenny that didn't win an All-Ireland. So these guys coming up here from Kilkenny, going back, losing 2 in a row to Limerick, I think their desire to not allow that to happen, and everything they will do to prevent that from happening is just going to give them the edge. And I think they will bring the war, but it's not going to be a group war. It's going to be each soldier is going to go out and fight his own individual battle out there. And I think they'll win more than 50-50 on those. So I'd be going my casting vote. I'd say I'd be going for Kilkenny.
You're going for Kilkenny. All right, very good. On the smaller fish pundits, because Niall Rigney went for Kilkenny and Brian Carroll went for Limerick. So we actually have 3 Kilkenny and 2 Limerick on the smaller fish pundits. Listen, that's it. These are very knowledgeable lads. So 3 to Kilkenny, 2 to Limerick. We'll leave it there for part 1, but we'll be back with a Kilkenny versus Limerick panel. Give it up for Aidan Hart, Bubbles O'Dwyer and Ollie Baker. All right, everybody, welcome back to Smaller Fish Hurling Show live from Liberty Hall. As we know, the show is thanks to our sponsor, Locker. It's the fastest growing sports app in Ireland. Please give it up for our second panel. Richie Power, Owen Larkin, Joe Quaid and Paul Brown. Richie. Joe's a bit lame, lads. Joe got the hip replaced. We'll have to start with you, Joe. What's going on with your second cousin? What's wrong with his eye?
To be fair, he is after signing a big deal with Specsavers at the moment. And the fact that Johnson & Johnson have a factory in Limerick as well, and we do contact lenses. So, no, the fact he doesn't wear glasses is a bit of a mystery, but...
Well, he wears the contacts, right? It's problematic contacts.
They'd be more, well, you know, for aesthetics, like, do you know the way you can get the coloured ones? There's nothing to do with your vision, but you just look better.
It looks a bit nice blue contact.
Absolutely, yeah.
What's going on with Nicky, Paul? Is this something you would have talked about? Let's be honest here. Like, we all have, Paul. Like, I've been in, every dressing room I've ever been in has said, when things are going against us, someone go down. It's never really been picked out, in my experience, anyone. It's usually one of the older lads would do it. And it just goes down and breaks up the momentum of the play. Kylie's getting terribly offended that anyone's even suggesting this is what's going on.
Yeah, look, it is spoke about. Of course it is, you know. In American football, they ice the kicker, you know. In baseball, the coach comes out in the mound and stops the game to break up the momentum. So, yeah, of course it's spoken about. When years ago, Wayne Mack used to always take off his helmet and go down on the ground, you know, if you conceded 2 or 3 points in a row. So it is spoken about. I just think it's probably picked out a bit more because maybe, I suppose, with COVID and the water breaks and the tactics board and stuff, and then obviously everyone is saying, oh, this is Connacht now has made this call to bring it in, but it's not. It's every team has something or breaks it up somehow, you know, if you're after conceding 4 or 5 points in a row, you know.
Do you think Nicky could be doing this unknowns to Kylie, and this is why Kylie's getting so thick about it?
100%. I reckon, like, Nicky probably decides when to do it himself, you know. I don't think there's no call comes in from the sideline or anything like that.
Well, if I did it in 94, I'd have a fucking a lot of medals.
Why didn't you do it in 94?
I was busy.
That would have been the right time to do it, I suppose, but sure, when sometimes your brain would be scrambled.
Come here, that wasn't even thought of in 94. There was no goalkeeping tactics or anything then. Just poke the ball as far as you could. But I had a point with John Hegarty, Garrod's father there, I suppose 6 weeks ago, and we reckoned we were market leaders in the game. Like in '94, a quick puck out from Aquay to Hegarty, and we were absolutely lambasted. Nowadays, you can't get a puck out quick enough from Aquay to Hegarty, so I put it down, it wasn't a mistake, we were just setting the trend.
You're ahead of your time. When Kylie getting so thick, Owen, I'm thinking to Cody, when you were around the 4 in a row kind of stage, Cody went sour on Marty that time over Richie's penalty. Like, are you in such a bubble that anything fucking offends the manager? Because Kylie's a different Kylie. He's getting thick a lot more this year.
Yeah, he seems to be getting a lot more agitated this year. I just wonder, is kind of pressure of the 4 in a row kind of getting to him then as well? And it does get to you. Like they can say all they want they haven't spoken about, but I guarantee you they have spoken about it.
So did you speak about it?
Well, we used to try and, for years we used to try and say we're not going to talk about 3 in a row, and then we kind of embraced it and said, look, this is a great opportunity. We're never going to get it again, kind of thing. But I actually think Kylie this year is not the same Kylie of last year, where he was just letting the players go on with the thing. As you said, he's getting involved in things where he shouldn't be getting involved in. Like, if he had to come out to the media and just say, yeah, Nicky just broke up the game, sure. You know, that's what he's there for. There'd have been nothing said about it. But the fact that he's trying to defend it now, it's just like a dog with a bone for the media just to go after it, you know?
Yeah. He's like, it's not that he even has to admit it. He just doesn't have to act like it's completely outrageous proposition that he would do this. Were you feeling the pressure, Richie, for the 4 in a row? Like, was it 4 in a row is a little bit in no man's land. 3 in a row is a big kind of landmark, and the 5 in a row. What is the 4 in a row? A little bit. We're in the middle of nowhere.
No, I wouldn't say it's in the middle of nowhere. It's a huge achievement, and obviously Limerick are going for 4 in a row on Sunday, and I suppose Larks mentioned it there that we would have embraced the 3 in a row. I suppose from my perspective, I think we kind of went back every year with one aim, and that was to win the All-Ireland. You know, we didn't put much emphasis on whether it was 2, 3 or 4 in a row. So, you know, at the end of the day, I've no doubt Limerick set out at the beginning of this year wanting to be All-Ireland champions and wanting to be at the top of the table again. So obviously the 4 in a row brings its own pressures, but it's whether the players let that get in on them and the management let it get in on them. That's probably the big thing. And I suppose, as you're kind of saying there, I think the fact that John alluded to this breaking up the play, whatever you want to call it, it shows a little bit of pressure maybe. You know, that, as you said, yeah, touch on it, but, you know, there was no need to probably be as agitated as he was coming back with it. We all know what Nicky was at. Like, don't get me wrong. We've seen it before with Nicky as well. He's done it in previous games.
There's nobody even criticising Nicky for it.
No, but you wouldn't. Like, if you're a manager, you're delighted. Like, I'm managing, that's what I'd want if my team was under pressure and there was 4 or 5 points put over the bar. Whether it's your goalie or your corner forward, someone goes down with a hamstring or something. Do you know? So, like, whether it's the goalie or not, like, I believe John alluded to Nicky was feeling unwell, that the umpire brought it to James Owen's attention the last day, and he went down and he was holding his eye. So, do you know, like, look, why pay attention to it? Everyone is doing it. Paul alluded to it there in baseball, in American football. So, like, if Limerick score 5 goals or 5 points on Sunday, I'd be hoping Owen or someone would do the same thing.
Yeah. Do you feel, Paul, that the public opinion has shifted from "come on Limerick, the underdogs, Jesus they did it, fucking love that team," to "geez, I hope they're beaten now, I hate this, I don't like any team dominating," and you feel you know, because I think the Limerick squad think that the knives are out for them. Now, I'm trying to think, are they out for them, or are they just getting a little bit oversensitive to it?
Of course they're out for him, I think, in a sense. I don't think anyone wants to see Limerick win on Sunday, if I'm honest. No one wants to see a team, but no one wants to see a team dominate, you know?
No.
But I will say
here,
that...
hang on, he's one of your own here now.
I will say, inside in Limerick, we're absolutely delighted, you know? Like, I'm over the moon that it has shifted slightly and that we're kind of looked at in a different light now, because you never want to be the hard luck story. You know, you want to be the team that people want to take down, and we've a great sense of pride about the lads the way they are now, and that teams are coming from the whole time and they're still standing firm and still coming out with victories. You know.
Yeah. Do you feel that, Joe?
Come here, it's long enough they were laughing at us. let him hate us as much as they want. Lads, I think you're being very hard on Nicky, to be honest now. And there's no bias there, like To be fair, Baker wouldn't even sit down alongside me. He's gone halfway back the thing there a while ago. I'm surprised he got off the stage without falling down, but that must just be an old Clare thing. But come here, everyone wants to break up the game. It happens.
So how are we being hard on him if you're admitting that?
Huh?
How are we being hard on him if that's all he's doing and everybody wants to do it?
Because he's done the right thing.
Yeah. So how are we being hard on him by just pointing out that's what he's doing?
Yeah, but you're giving out about John Kiley not knowing about it. Sure, poor old John, he's doing his best. Like. You know? Like, to be fair, Kiley hasn't a clue what's going on. Like, according to the media, it's Paul Connector's running the show, Nicky's running the show on the field. Kylie's only there for the interviews after. So, you know, you'd feel sorry for him.
Was it difficult, Owen, to motivate yourselves when you're winning every year? You know, and you know you're going for 4 in a row. And the funny thing is, Limerick used the word process. It's, you know, the Dublin feckin', we follow the process, boring out stuff. You never really came out with that. The process wasn't known what the process was at the time. But at the same time, a lot of the teams now are not using these kind of motivating tactics. Like, there's no real rivalry between Limerick and Kilkenny. There's no hatred there. Kilkenny never even hit them a slap last year. You know, like, I mean, was it really hard to motivate yourselves at that time?
No, it wasn't, because I suppose we had Brian Cody, and like the lad said earlier on, you could get a box in the chest fairly quick if you weren't motivated. But no, look, as the lad said, like, the 4 in a row, when you're going for 4 in a row, nobody wants to see you doing it. Like, it was the same with us when we were going for it. Everybody wanted his bet, and everybody was.
Tommy Walsh went from an absolute brilliant hurler that everyone loved to a dirty bastard.
Yeah.
Didn't he?
Well, sure, this is it. It was Kilkenny were dirty bastards. It wasn't just Tommy Welsh. You know, they play on the edge and they're slapping and this, that and the other. But it's the same with Limerick now. People are saying that kind of stuff as well. Nobody just wants to see one team winning all the time. And that's just the reality of sport. You know, it's the same probably with the Chicago Bulls when they were winning all their stuff. They want to see a change, like, you know. And that's just the way it is, like.
Yeah. When you won the 4 in a row, Richie, you got a little bit of help from the referee. We have some footage of that.
There's no help there.
There's at least 3 fouls there.
Well, I remember years ago, wasn't it years ago, Paolo Di Canio handed the ball back and wouldn't accept a penalty. Would you not have thought of doing that, Richie?
I actually didn't realise it was a penalty. I thought it was a 21. But obviously the referee saw it differently. But, you know, in fairness to Brian, had me back at the end of the game, so I'll thank him for that.
The best part of that footage is after the penalty, I think, comes off Brendan Cummins. Clips off his shoulder. He thinks he's after saving. He turns around and he's ready to... And it's in the back of the net, and he realises he's devastated.
JJ Delaney was here on with you a few years ago on my old show, and this was a great quote for him. Oh no, it wasn't a penalty, but that makes it even better. It's not often.
It's like Bubbles' one in 2014. That was over the bar as well.
Yeah. Well, were you behind that? Uh-huh. Did you get a good view of that?
I had a perfect view of it. It was straight over the bar. I couldn't believe they gave it away.
John Keenan is reffing. Are we going to see the John Keenan of the Munster final, or the I better be the best boy in class John Keenan, Joe? Or is he going to go, I might never get another fucking All-Ireland, I'm putting the whistle in the pocket? Who would that suit?
Well, to be fair, the Munster final here refereed, I think it was actually in the wrong venue. It should have probably been in Thomond Park with the amount of pulling and dragging that went on. Look, to be fair, and it's out of complete respect for Kilkenny, I think Shep the Dog could referee this match on Sunday, to be fair, because the two teams are going to go at each other with massive respect. If you want to fight, they'll fight, but if you want to hull, they'll hull. And to be fair, the Munster Championship this year, as I said, it could have been held in Thomond Park, a lot of it, because the pulling, dragging, and the spoiling that went on, you know. And look, teams are out there and managers are out there under pressure. I do the same myself. Like, if there's a team there that are physical and that, and the way they play, you need to pull them to the ground. You need to stop them running. And I don't mean this in a bad way. No, Ollie, we'll still talk after. But the night Clare beat us in the Gaelic grounds, I remember at one stage there was a ball up the right wing, and the left wing, Barry Nash was making his way up the field, and he actually got rugby tackled to the ground to stop his run. Do you know? That's not going to happen the weekend. It's not going to happen.
Who says? Who says it's not going to happen?
Nah, I think you've too much pride in hurling in Kilkenny.
Jeez, you're getting a good few digs in at Clare here. They're not even in the All-Ireland final.
You do realise Baker said Kilkenny were going to fucking win.
What do you think, Paul? How do you think John Keenan? Like, the great thing about Limerick is they'll give it to you any way you want it, and you know, and that is the compliment of theirs. And if they weren't winning all the time, I love Limerick. I just want Kilkenny to win because I don't want to see hurling being dominated by a team. And but Limerick will give it to you anyway. If you want to hurl, you'll hurl, and that's what the great Kilkenny team had as well. Getting stuck into them isn't really that good, even if John Keenan is letting it flow.
John Keenan is retiring after this year, isn't he? He's turning 50, so I'd say part of him, after being kind of discarded last year after that Munster final, I'd say he might go out with his whistle in his pocket, I'd say, for the game and leave it at that. But yeah, like, I mean, it's going to be very physical, like, but neither team will go over the top, I'd say. There'll be a big emphasis this week on making sure you keep 15 on the field for the whole game. I think that'll be a huge thing because, yeah, as much as you would have the skit there about John and him retiring and stuff, he's still going to have an awful lot of pressure on him for the top game of the year, and, you know, the 4 in a row thing, and Kilkenny coming again to try and win, you know. So I think it's going to be a very physical game, but I don't think it'll go over the top in any way, you know. But it's going to be really tough.
What do you think, Richie, about the rivalry? Like, there doesn't seem to be any rivalry. Like, there was no flashpoints in that. There's no talking points around these two teams don't like each other. Kylie and Cody shook hands, all very respectful. Like, Kilkenny are the underdogs now. What did you not like? Like, Tipperary came in 2009 and was like they did. It's not like they didn't respect you. It's like they got stuck into you. I didn't think Kilkenny really got stuck into them, or is that just not the Kilkenny way to do it?
I wouldn't say it's not the Kilkenny way to do it. Like, as you mentioned there, like 2009, Tipperary came with a savagery, you know, for Kilkenny, and like, we have respect for each other. Like, some people might think we don't, but like, off the field, we'd always, as Bubbles alluded to there in 2019, went into the players' lounge, had a chat with the Kilkenny boys. Like, we probably didn't see enough of that last year from Kilkenny in the final, to be honest. They went and they hurled their game, and to do that against Limerick, knowing that they're going to surpass 30 points, you know, then you know you have to score at least 3 goals to try and probably beat Limerick. So I think you'll see a different Kilkenny this year. I really do, because you go back to Derek and the way he set up the 20s last year against Limerick, he brought that into a war. And I'm not, nothing against Limerick. That Limerick team in particular just didn't like it on the day. It was, in my opinion, it was a better Limerick team on paper, but what Kilkenny done that day was just drag them into the trenches, and they didn't like it. So I'd hope to see Kilkenny not try and do that on Sunday, but definitely stand up more physically. Yeah, we know Kilkenny can hurl. Yeah, the personnel is different to last year, but, you know, I think we need to hit hard, but hit fair. And I hope John Keenan does let it go, because you don't like to see a shootout between TJ or Aaron, and certainly Dermot Burns. We can't afford to be giving away frees from anywhere within 100 yards, because he'll shoot them all day.
Do you think, Owen, there'd be like, you know, just before the ball's thrown in, there could be a skirmish between two players? You know, like, it was very clean and nice and a great hurling match. It was a brilliant game. But again, there's just, what do champions not like? They don't like being disrespected.
Yeah, and I think, as Richie alluded to there, I think we're probably have a more experienced team this year. Probably most of the younger lads going up last year would have grown up kind of watching Limerick, you know, do the 2 in a row, and watch them win their first All-Ireland, and seeing this Limerick team and said, you know, subconsciously, can we win this game, or do we want to keep it tight? And I think probably they wanted to keep it tight for a good bit of the game last year and then see where they were. And it was probably too late at that stage then to try and kick on. But I think, as Richie said, we will see a confident Kilkenny this year, that going up with an ambition really to win rather than hope.
Yeah. Do you see any changes on the Limerick team, Joe? Do you think maybe Cian Lynch or Reedy to midfield, Cian Lynch to centre forward seemed to work better in the second half against Galway?
That's probably the only one, I think.
Yeah.
But the one thing that frightens me about Kilkenny this year is Owen Cody's speech after the semi-final. I've never seen a young lad so focused and so looking forward to going into the Lions Den of an All-Ireland final. I don't think that man will have a nerve in his body the weekend. I think it'll be just full excitement. And I think one of the problems we may have is, okay, Declan Hannon's out. I think Will will do fine in there. But I think Sean Finn missing is going to be huge. Because if Kilkenny win, and I'd put any money on it, I guarantee you Owen Cody will get man in the match. You know, I didn't say they'd win. I said if. But just the focus that was in, sorry, what age is he, 22, 23?
That's all, yeah.
Jesus Christ, the focus that man had.
Very
I was
very
sitting
impressive.
at home, and for a young lad to speak that confidently and that well, and it just brought back what we all love about hurling, the passion about it. You know, it was something that worried me. I'll be straight up, and that was back then, even without we knowing who was going to be playing and who wasn't going to be playing. But look, the Limerick team, I'm shocked that Declan Hannon isn't even on the 26, but to be fair, I suppose it was flagged. They brought it out very early after the Munster final that he was out for the semi-final, so none of us know. That's the one thing there. There's a SEAL camp in there that they do brilliantly. They'll change personnel all the time. Come here, the last day Seamus Flanagan was out around the middle of the field. We haven't seen him there in the last 5 years. What was he doing there? He didn't do it by himself. So they'll obviously, Paul Kinnerk will be making plans for every eventuality. But as I said, the one worry I have is the focus that Owen Cody had that day after the match.
Yeah.
Frightening.
Yeah, very, very impressive. Who are you worried about, Paul, on the Kilkenny team? Like, TJ's the obvious one, Owen Cody. Like, who do you think can cause you problems?
I just think it'll come down to how they set up. I just touched on what the lads said there about the 20s last year with Derek, and they set up really deep and they weren't going to concede goals. And
Like nearly the 2019 Kilkenny in Croke Park.
yeah, I was involved with that 20s group with Limerick, and we definitely had a better team on paper, but they totally outfought us and outworked us on the day, and were set up very defensively well and really brought it into a dogfight. And I think Kilkenny are going to do the same on Sunday, you know, and I think the likes of Mossy Keoghan and I think Donnelly and Co are going to have a massive shift to put in around the middle, and I think then obviously it looks like Derek has been kind of building a bit of strength on the bench all year long to finish out the game, you know, like with Walter Walsh and Richie Hogan coming in the last day as well, like, and they're always adding something, the fellas coming in, you know, that stack going around there today that the Kilkenny bench have offered more than the Limerick bench this year from a scoring point of view. So I think it's that kind of an aspect there. I think they're going to try and mirror Limerick in a sense, you know, and try and come out into the middle third with the half forwards and try and go at each other there. And I think you'll see the full forward line from Kilkenny possibly coming out and tagging the half backs for the long range points like Kyle and Dearborn and Co. So I think it's just going to be a collective effort from Kilkenny, to be honest. And obviously, as the lads said there, they have the quality in the full forward line to punish you, you know. And I would agree that Owen Cody looks very sharp this year, and I just think Limerick will be going out to stop the ball going in. You know, I think against Galway in the first 25 minutes, you know, Anna Murphy was coming out for that sharp puck out, getting it in return, was firing it over our half back line into the corners, and Conor Whelan running onto it. You know, that'll be the last thing Limerick will want this time around, I think, and they'll set up with a deep half back line to try and stop that ball in there.
And they squeeze that. That's the big problem, I'll throw to both you, Ona and Richie, is that Kilkenny scored 226. You don't want to take that away from them, but you want to cut down the other side. And if you start dropping lines and all that, you're not going to score 226. You're not going to get the goals, Richie, that you're saying. You get me? It's a really difficult one, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think they can do that, because, you know, they'll be fit enough to get up and down the field. You know, you'll be only running maybe 15, 20 yards to cut down that space, and then they'll be turning once the ball goes in and getting in on top of the lads in the full forward line to take the pass and get going again. That's what work rate is about, and that's what they've been doing all year, you know.
Yeah, but like when you were doing it, you kind of brought it. You got inspired by Tyrone, right? And
Tyrone?
Yeah, it was Tyrone. That clip in Tyrone 2003. I know, because Cody was up with Tyrone. Was Mickey Hart not down with you as well, or something like that? I thought it was. But you went ravenous in the forwards, chasing. What was the message there? How far were you meant to go back, and how were you meant to be able to get back up?
That all started in 2006. All Ireland.
It took you 3 years to come.
Yeah, when we got all that, and then it was all supposed to be, you know, we'll take our own man take your own man, don't go to anyone else. And next thing, Sean O got a ball and the whole lot of us just converged on him. So the tactics went out the window that day.
That was it, was it, Richie? That was it. It was just kind of hey, as Brian Cody always says, the game took on a life of its own.
Well, it did in 06 because Cork were going for 3 in a row. And like Larks is right. I remember our tactic was that we play our own player, we don't give them the overlap. But the first short puck out, we just were like flies to, but that set the tone for the game. And like, I suppose we're talking, like you asked the question there about, the half forwards or how deep do you go. Like, I think this man kind of changed the half forwards player, for everyone coming forward. And to be honest, I was delighted I wasn't a 10 or a 12 because trying to get up and down that line as much as he did was phenomenal. So that's what you're seeing. Like one of the lads mentioned there about Garrod Hegarty popping a point from 21-yard line and sprinting 70 yards back the field to pick up the next play. That's what 10 and 12 is about. And that's what our 10 and 12 on Sunday are going to have to do a savage amount of. And it's whether they can, keep that up for 70, 75 minutes. I suppose the one positive I take from last year's final, and I watched it last weekend, was the score after 7 minutes was 1-2 to no score. So we outscored Limerick by 3 points for the next 65 odd minutes. So looking at it from that perspective, it has to be a positive. But we also gave up a lot of sloppy, scores last year. So it's going to be a massive, massive task for Kilkenny. But, it's a great position to be in. Not many people giving us a chance going up. Coming up against one of the greatest teams of all time, it's no different. They have to be beaten at some stage, and they will be beaten at some stage. Hopefully it'll be Sunday by Kilkenny.
Yeah. So they're going to be beaten at some stage. On the worry for Limerick, Paul, is that Cody wasn't good in last year's final. He was out on the wing, and he's flying it this year. And another big one for Limerick is their accuracy in last year's final was 72%. It's way down on that this year.
Yeah, it is. It is way down. And I know it's probably something they've been trying to work on. At the same time, I know inside in the camp, they're probably delighted to be getting so many shots off. I suppose to be winning games without their accuracy and getting shots off and being able to reset, it's definitely a focus that they're going to have to dial into big time, because I think probably scoring opportunities will be at a minimum on Sunday as regards clear-cut ones, And I think Sunday's going to be a battle at full forward lines, to be honest. And I think you could see a good few goals, I reckon, because I just think they're so on fire this year. Glenn is at the top of his game, so is Owen Cody on the other side, And in fairness to the other lads that have been inside and rotating around, they're chipping in as well with scores too. So I think it's going to be the full forward line is going to be the danger area, because I think, as I said, that middle area is going to be so condensed. I think if you can get the ball away nice and sharp to hand and deliver it in, I think there's going to be goal opportunities inside.
Right. Okay. Right. We'll get predictions. So, Joe, start with you. It's going to be a Limerick. Tell me why it's going to be Limerick.
I'd say Kilkenny by 5.
As long as Clare don't win it, so
exactly. Once Baker doesn't have to come back next year and be gloating. Look, there's none of us going to go against our own county. It makes sense of, I suppose, what's gone this year so far. Limerick have been dipping, I suppose, a small bit. We've been beaten by Clare. Kilkenny, I suppose we're lucky in the Leinster final. That Aidan Hart didn't play football, or Aidan Hart says Pádraig Mannion didn't play football. Sorry, Aidan. I know you would have put that out over the line. And they got beaten by Wexford. But there's one thing. Enjoy it, lad. Enjoy it. But I've one rule. I'm not a betting man, but if I was a betting man, I've always said it down through the years. In an All-Ireland final, I would never walk into a bookie and put a bet against Kerry in football or Kilkenny in hurling. So any Kilkenny team in an All-Ireland final are dangerous. To be fair, I'd say the lads may or may not agree with me. We thought last year that we were maybe 10 points better than Kilkenny. Look at the scoreline. We were 2. Right? And I think Kilkenny are far better set up this year. I will be damn glad if Limerick win by a point. That will do me. And to be honest, I think it'll come to that.
Okay. Talking to Conor Whelan on the show, he thought Limerick would win by 1 point as well. What about you, Paul?
For me, it's Limerick by 1 score. Whether that it's going to be 1-3, I think it's going to be very close. I just, as Joe said there, you would be worried about Kilkenny coming up. I think they have something different about them this year. I think, I think they're ready for the battle. I think last year maybe coming up, I suppose, I'm not sure they've maybe fully believed they were going to win it. Whereas I think this year, I think even if the lads are slightly bullish even here, beside me, but I think they're kind of coming up looking to claim a scalp this year and try and turn over Limerick. But I think it'll be Limerick by a score. I've said it all year. The most impressive thing about this group this year is not the tactics or the hurling or anything like that. It's just that when the battle is there, as many miles as they have on the clock, when the battle is there, they're standing up to it, and someone is carrying it every day out to the rest of the teams, and they haven't been taken down yet. And I think that's the most admirable thing about the team this year.
Okay, Limerick 1-3. Owen, one big worry for you, we mentioned it in part 1, is Blanchfield and the whole Hegarty-Tom Morrissey problem and the Deegan-Hegarty problem, and you're kind of running out of options nearly there. What's your thoughts on that and your prediction?
Well, I think Blanchfield is going to be a huge loss if he is out. The lad spoke about Derek Harkin coming in. I think, looking at it, he's probably the only real option that they have height-wise, strength-wise, and probably pace-wise as well. Because I think you need Hugh Lawler and Mikey Butler in the full back line. So I'm hoping David Blanchfield will be fit, and he done well on Hegarty when he came in last year. So we're hoping that Blanchfield will be fit, but I expect Derek Harkin maybe to come in if he's not. But the other side of it is, I think Kilkenny are in a better place this year than they were last year. I don't think they're necessarily playing better, but I think they're building towards probably their best game, which hopefully will be Sunday. The other thing is, I think they're getting an impact off the bench, and they didn't have that last year. Coming down the stretch, they had no one to bring in and make an impact. To do this year, I think it was 2 or 3 points in the finish last year without getting an impact, whereas they're making an impact in all the games this year. So I'd say Kilkenny by maybe 2.
Kilkenny by 2. What about you, Richie, finally, your prediction? And just on the Limerick aura, they have the aura that G had, where you nearly have teams beaten before they go out. Maybe Kilkenny cracked the aura, maybe believe, we're not a mile off them, we're well able to give it to them.
And look, Limerick have that aura about them, and deservedly so. They can do it anyway, and we've seen that, say, the last day against Galway. Galway had them at 6s and 7s in the first 25 minutes, but there was no panic, none whatsoever. Now, maybe if that goal chance had went in, we might have seen a little bit of panic from the sideline, but they didn't panic. So, no matter if Kilkenny get the start on Sunday, we still have to keep going. We have to go till the 74th, 75th minute. I'd love to see us bring them down the home stretch, and if we're within touch and distance of them like we were last year, as Lark's alluded to there, I just think we might have a little bit more off the bench, because obviously Limerick now, without Sean Finn, without Declan Hannon, have to empty their bench. They still have the, Cathal O'Neill to come off the bench, who, for me, is a starter all day long.
Yeah.
And one of these days, they might get caught by not starting them, and it's too late to bring them on. So, look, it's going to be really, really hard to call. As the lads alluded to there, I'm going up more this year in I won't say confidence, but I think we have the belief that we can win. Last year, I don't think the lads did and the players did. And I just, I'd be hopeful more so than confident, but I think Kilkenny, by the bare minimum, maybe 1 or 2 points.
Okay. 2 Kilkenny, 2. One final one, Paul and Joe. I'll give you this one. Everyone's saying Cathal O'Neill should be starting. I suppose, who does he start instead of? And it's harsh on a young lad that's that good not to be starting on the team. At what point is he going to break onto it?
Yeah, I just think they're probably looking at the option he has is coming on, No, but it was serious. But Shawnee O'Donnell has all this worked down to a fine art. They know who needs to come in, when, and what they need to offer. And I know you want about the process.
So the computer says
I know you hate the process now and all that, and you're not into that. But they do have those kind of things nailed down, and who needs to come in at what stage and what they need to offer, And I think Cathal, obviously, off the bench is really difficult to handle for maybe tiring backs,
Yeah.
And he has popped up with. He's got a good few scores this year already, and important ones as well at that. So I think they see what he brings to the team, and I think on top of that, probably the lads, when they see him coming on, are like, "Oh, here comes Cathal now. He's definitely giving the ball. He's worth a couple of points, So I think that's probably what it is.
Yeah. Okay. And final one, Joe, before we finish up with the panel, is the very little cover for that full back line.
Yeah, that's a huge worry for this week, Richie.
English is
after he's after doing his cruise ship. Look, I've offered my services with the crutch if needs
So
be.
who is the cover for that full back line then?
A couple of rowdy Monleen boys down there.
Yeah.
Model Levi's.
It's amazing when the old Monleen boys win Old Island, they go mad. But look, to be fair, we're very thin in the ground. We cover for the full back line. But look, to be fair.
What happens? Coughlin comes in. What's the reshuffle if somebody, say if Mike Casey gets injured, what's the reshuffle?
Yeah, we play without him. No, but to be fair, look, they're after converting Nicky Quaid, the centre back, to a goalie, Barry Nash a forward to a corner back, Kyle Hayes centre forward last year, his wing back. Do you know, Declan Hannon was a forward,
Yeah.
back. I'm sure, I can guarantee you one thing, and Paul have been in the setup fairly recently, will know they will have a plan for that. I have no idea what it's going to be. They'll pull some rabbit out of the hat if needs be. And come here, it mightn't be an injury. If Owen Cody's going to town, just because we don't have someone to replace Barry Nash or Mike Casey or Dan Morrissey, doesn't mean we let him there.
Aaron Gallan will go back on him.
He'd be grand, sure. He'd score from back there and what. But no, it is a huge worry now. I'll be straight up about it. When we got the news during the week, and we're after 2 cruise ships this week. Young Jimmy Quilty, that was on the extended panel, is after doing his cruise ship as well. So it's a massive, massive worry for us. Who's covered there? I'll give you a straight answer for once. I have no idea.
Right. Well, we'll leave it at that. There's a little bit of hope for Kilkenny for sure with the way they're stretched. Right, give it up for a second panel. Richie Power, Owen Larkin, Paul Brown and Joe Quaid. All right, very quick break and we're coming back with a grudge match. This is a grudge match. It's Kilkenny versus Limerick in a top corner challenge.
Make a sound when you come around. Only 'cause I need you now. Only 'cause I need you now. Make it loud, what you talk about. Only 'cause I need you now. Only 'cause I need you now. Jump in now. Maybe we can fly to a place where it's 3 a.m.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the hurling show, the Smaller Fish Hurling Show, live in Liberty Hall. Okay, so to finish off the show, we have a bit of a grudge match, Kilkenny versus Limerick. But before we get started, we know that the live show tonight is thanks to Locker, and Locker have a giveaway. They're giving away retro jerseys like Bubbles is wearing, and Ollie will hand it. Ollie wouldn't put on the Limerick jersey, but he's going to hold it up. And Bubbles O'Dwyer. To be in with it. To be in with a chance of winning the retro jerseys, 2 for yourself and 2 more for one of your friends, all you have to do is download the Locker app. And you have to tag Locker in a social media post. Right, can I get the 2 captains over here, please? All right, Limerick are defending All-Ireland champions, so I'll let you go first. Heads or tails? Tails it is. Limerick are going to go first. Lay down a marker. This is going to go a long way. Like I have to say, Bubbles put on the Kilkenny jersey, and neither Aidan or Hart or Ollie Baker would put on the Limerick one. Okay, the rules of the game are You have 3 people on your team and you have 10 balls. You can split the balls up whatever way you want. Like Bubbles can get all 10 if you really want. Well, he's on the Kilkenny team. He's not too bad. You can split it whatever way you want. You have 10 balls. The small target is worth 2 points and the big target is worth 1 point. Let's get the Limerick team up here. Give them a round of applause. All right. I'll hand you the balls, lads. Who's going up first? Aidan Hart's up first or Paul Brown? The only Limerick man will go up first. Start the marker. You can go with 4 and the 2 boys 3 each. Okay, let's go. Whoa! 1 out of 1. Ollie. Oh! 3. Whoa! Whoa! Jesus! Oliver, okay. Aidan Hart. Point will do. 2 misses. 3 misses. Aidan Hart 0. Ollie Baker's turn. The last 3. Paul Brown got 3. Paul Brown got 3 points in his first 2 shots, and they haven't scored since. Shit. Okay, Ollie Baker with Limerick's last 3 shots. That's a goal, Ollie, but it's no good to you. Oh! 4 for Limerick. Oh! Did it go in? Did that go in? No. Okay. Limerick, I think we're going to have to go to Hawkeye. No data available. Okay. Limerick scores 4. All right, let's get the Kilkenny lads up here. 4 to beat. I have to say, Paul Brown, 3 points in his first 2 shots. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're missing a ball. Give us one of those spare balls. All right. Richie Power, the first one up on the Kilkenny team. Okay, let's go, Richie. 0 out of 1, Richie. 0 out of 2, Richie. 0 out of 3. Terrible start for Kilkenny. We're giving Richie a 4th goal. We are. Oh! No. No, no. 0 for 4, Kilkenny. Owen Larkin's turn. Zero out of 5 for Kilkenny. Owen Larkin's getting tick. 0 out of 6. 0 out of 7 for Kilkenny. Can Bubbles O'Dwyer save Kilkenny? Oh, that's 1. That's 1. It's too hard. Is that it? Too late. The final scores are in. Kilkenny came in with 1 guaranteed point and 2 disputed points of Richie Power. Limerick came in with 4. Paul Brown beat Limerick in his first 2 shots. Or Paul Brown beat Kilkenny in his first 2 shots. Right, listen, that's all we have time for. Thanks to everyone for coming tonight and braving the rain. Some people didn't. So thanks for everyone for showing up. Thanks to Itzy for all her help on the show. She turned into a bit of a sound engineer tonight and a videographer as well. Thanks. Thanks to all the lads from Kilkenny and Limerick for showing up too. And thanks to Locker for making the night possible. We'll see you all. Best of luck to the 2 teams on Sunday. Good night.